This is the Horse Radio Network.
This is episode 686 of the Dressage Radio Show, official podcast of the United States Dressage Federation on the Horse Radio Network, brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products. On today's show, we are going to be joined by Lee and Sarah Tubman. Plus, we're going to review our book of the month, and Reese and I have a trainer tip.
This is Reese Stanfield from Georgetown, Kentucky.
And this is Philip Parks from Rockwood, Ontario, and you're listening to the Dressage Radio Show.
Hi, Phil. How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you, Reese?
I am great. We just finished recording the show, and I'm pumped for the show. This is a great show, but I've missed you as well. So much has happened.
Yeah, we've been away for a week. We did an early review or an early recording, so that you could go to regionals, which was in St. Louis, I guess. And
yes, yep.
Tell us all about it.
Yeah, so I went to St. Louis, and first of all, I had I don't even remember. I had a lot of listeners come up and say hi to me, and that was so sweet and special. Thank you guys all for doing that. I had a couple of them, and I know, Phil, you've had this happen at the warm-up when I'm talking, and I get kind of a funny look. Then I know the look now, and I introduce myself, and it was so cute. And I really enjoyed meeting everybody. That was so sweet. And we'll have to do a meetup at the national championships. So it was an interesting week. My horses were really good. That was a big ask for both horses, actually. So my younger one, poor guy, he'd never been in a stadium before. And when I was in the warm-up, I was like, something is wrong. And Miss Lori, who was wonderful, she groomed for me and went with me. I said, Miss Lori, did you see anything? Something's weird on the right side. Phil, I've never had this happen before. And at some point, you just have to laugh. That horse, it was his fourth horse show. He's not very experienced, but to his credit, he was a star. He was so well-behaved. And we were there are two coliseums, and they're kind of linked by this tunnel. It's kind of a difficult venue. You know what I mean? It's not an easy venue. And the coliseum we were in was really dark, and the footing was quite deep, and lots of fans. So it was a big ask for him to go in there. And he was a little bit in the warm-up. I think, honestly, he was just nervous, and he had to poo-poo. And we get all the way through the test to the very end for my last canter trot transition was supposed to be at C. I'm pretty happy with this test. I'm all right, I'm killing it. This is going great. He had to stop and poop. I've never had this happen. And it was one of those where he legitimately stopped, and it's really not the time to just start kicking like a pony clubber. And I gave one good kick, and he just was nope. And y'all, I just laughed. I kind of laughed. The judge kind of laughed. The one judge had a little bit better sense of humor, and he gave me a 4 walked. The other judge gave me a 1 unfortunate poop. And, what do you do? What do you do? I don't know.
I had that this year, or maybe it was last year in the walk pirouettes. Yeah. When the horse got to go, he's got to go,
And he's never done it under saddle. I've had the horse since December, and at that point, I'm has he done this before? He really doesn't poop under saddle. So I think he was just so nervous. And honestly, the owners were great. I mean, I showed him the video, and they're like, that was a really nice test. And I was like, I know. So that was him. And that was and again, he was so, I can't fault him, and it's okay. And in a lot of ways, as you know, it's at first level, it's very competitive. And, I really want to show him. I want to get him going and doing more. And if I were to have made the national championships, I would kind of have to hold him back. And now I can just train him and get him ready for Florida and doing 3rd and 4th level. He's ready for that. But I've been kind of held back a little bit. But he was a star. And then follow me, Big Mike. You guys are so cute. Everybody asked about Big Mike because I got him from, you guys know the whole story when he was 4 and he's 10 now. he was wild. I got him off the horse trailer and I was like, what is going on? And I own Big Mike with my parents and another sponsor. So, he's my horse. I enjoy him and he's wild. I'm like, what is wrong with you? And then I'm like, oh, oops. He has not been to an away show, which wasn't even really an away show. It was at the horse park. He had spent 2 nights in November or regionals last year, which was October. And then he spent 1 night at the horse park for the nationals. But really, since then, he hasn't been off the farm. He hasn't had to ship 7 hours. So I was like, oh, okay, oops. So he was fine. He had a lunge the first day, and then he was actually really good. And then I had to go back in that same really dark indoor. It was kind of deep. And I honestly had a super I1. Also, I didn't prep him. I've really trained hard this summer and spent my money on training and kind of made a call not to go to any horse shows since March was the last time he showed. And I went, Phil, you would have been so proud of me. Sometimes I don't prep for my pirouettes. I came on that short diagonal for the I1 guys. I was feeling it. I was like, yes, he had been so good. I had no mistakes up to that point. And I gave a half halt and Big Mike just listened so well and did a beautiful walk transition. And I was like, oops. And he was supposed to be pirouetting. So, I mean, I couldn't fault him. It was one of those, it was a little miscommunication. I didn't back up my half halt very well. And, but he listened so well. So that was disappointing. I would have been, it was very costly because it's a double score in the I1. That dropped us several placings because it was so tight. So it's okay. And then he came back in the freestyle and actually was really good. And then again, Phil, I've been so good, but have competed a lot recently, and then not so much this summer. In the FEI ring, I've been showing a bit, but not in the FEI ring. And I went the wrong way. Well, I hit the wrong diagonal line. Just went for an extended trot in the diagonal, and I was supposed to go to the center line in my freestyle. And I was like, oh no, but I turned around and went the other way.
It was a freestyle. Yeah. I mean,
it was a freestyle. Yeah.
Just do what you want.
It rocked
right?
me. Yeah, but it rocked me, and it rocked. He was like, whoa, what are we doing? But I was so proud of my horse. I really was. I didn't set him up the best, and he really shined for me. So I was really excited. So he is qualified for nationals in both the I1 and the freestyle. So I'm really looking forward to it. And I was so proud of him. It just made me smile because he tried really hard. So, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, that's the best feeling as a rider is like,
yeah.
You ask the horse to listen and he over listens.
Yeah. And
then, any kind of steering error should, what did Charlotte say? Slap the rider, pat the horse.
Yeah, that's how I felt. I felt like I didn't give him the best ride. So I'll be really ready for nationals. And, but I was really thrilled to be there again. As you guys know, I'm really close to the horse park. So, it's always an honor to be able to ride there and to make it. So I am really looking forward to taking him and I won't spend 1 night. He gets to spend the whole time. I've already done my entry. So knock on wood, that goes well. So I'm looking forward to it. So congratulations to everybody who made it in and had good regionals. And there are more regional championships going on this weekend and also in the next couple of weeks. So I just wish everybody well and good rides and enjoy your time because it is a lot of work and it is nice to get there and to do well. And if anything, you're going to learn something good or bad. So
yeah, good or bad, it's all about learning and of course, it's and perspective, right?
Right.
If it works out, that's awesome, whatever. But failing or not having the success you wanted to have can be a really great learning opportunity. So, that's just all in how you look at it. And when we come back from this commercial break from Kentucky Performance Products, we're going to have all kinds of tips and tricks and how to have a great mental approach to your riding.
This Nutrition Minute is brought to you by Kentucky Performance Products, the company that simplifies your search for research-proven nutritional supplements at kppusa.com.
The horse that matters to you matters to Kentucky Performance Products. Researchers have confirmed that as horses age, they naturally become less sensitive to insulin and more susceptible to health problems caused by too much sugar in the diet. One way to reduce the sugar content in a horse's diet is to replace sugar-laden grains with a high-fat supplement. Fat is an extraordinary energy source. It is readily utilized by the horse and contains more than 2 times the calories of sugary grains. Equijewel Stabilized Rice Bran is an excellent fat supplement. It contains a balanced calcium to phosphorus ratio and won't cause mineral imbalances when added to the diet. Its all-natural ingredients are high in healthy fat and fiber. Best of all, Equijewel allows owners to easily replace the calories previously supplied by sugary grains. When you need to add healthy calories to your horse's diet, choose Equijewel. To learn more, visit Kentucky Performance Products at kppusa.com.
Well, tonight it is book review time. Yay! We are reviewing with our Horse Radio Network auditor, Jennifer Jones, Bolder, Braver, Brighter by Coach Daniel Stewart. Jennifer from Florida, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, Jennifer, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am one of those rewriters. I took a short break from the time I left high school until I was 54 years old. And then I got back in horses. And about that time, I started following the World Equestrian Games, where I discovered Glenn on Horses in the Morning talking about the hurricane descending upon the games, and quickly became hooked on all of the shows, including the dressage show.
Well, hey, Jennifer, do you own a horse, or what is your riding level at this point? What's your involvement with horses?
I do own a horse. I own the most magnificent little Morgan mare. She was bred in Tennessee, and a friend gave her to me. And she has turned out just to be, my husband's not in the room, the love of my life. I just adore her. And because of Horse Radio Network and the endurance show that they have every second Tuesday of the month, my little mare and I, we do limited distance endurance. And we're in the Southeast region. And so we've done rides in South Carolina and Tennessee and Alabama and Florida. And it's just lots of fun. I really enjoy it.
What is, how long is a limited distance endurance race? Is that
up to 30 miles? So we do 25 or 30 miles, and we have 6 hours to do it, and we have an hour hold. And to me, the best thing about it is the motto of our organization is to finish is to win. So I can do that.
Yeah,
I don't have
absolutely.
to top 10. If I finish and my horse is happy and healthy, I won. She is much more competitive than I am. But she lets me hang on, and she takes me around all those miles, and she does it beautifully. So it's lots of fun. And being an auditor, we have an auditor group, Endurance Green Beans on the auditor group, and it's hilarious. It's so much fun. We're all learning. Let's just put it that way. But we share our adventures on our little subgroup there.
So how long have you been an auditor, and what are the benefits of it?
Well, I've probably been an auditor since 2018, 2019. And the benefits are I don't feel guilty for listening to all the shows. It helps appease my guilt. I am motivated by guilt a lot, but also just the connections. You actually get to know people in the little auditor group on Facebook. As social media gross as that sounds, you get involved with the people and their horses and their stories. And it's just a great place to go for some feedback or support. I mean, no one else understands, what it's like when you don't have the right color horse pad to go with the bridle you just bought. We buy colorful bridles in endurance. They do. There are auditors there who get it, who take me seriously when I'm complaining about not finding just the right color blue. They understand. So it's nice to have a horse community. It saves your work colleagues and your family from having, to hear me talk about horses all the time. There's somewhere else I can go.
It is such a positive group. That's one of the benefits of being an auditor is it's a special group, and it's so active. And I think it's wonderful because, like you said, you have an instant group of friends, which is super. I have Philip. He can't turn me down when I call him, but I mean, truly having friends that get it, you can talk about horses, and I think it's wonderful.
We have a big auditor group where we're all on HRN Auditors or whatever Glenn has named
it's grown and grown and grown, and now there's lots of I would call them splinter groups.
Yeah. So the little endurance splinter group, those are my peeps. We're an odd little group who like to go and, spend 6 to 12 to 24 hours in the saddle. And so it's nice to have them there. There are splinter groups with people who sew, the 100 jumpers, the cross country people. They're just little splinter groups for whatever your interest is. There's a splinter group, and I found that very helpful and fun.
Well, that's very cool. Well, I love it. Well, another benefit is that we do pick someone to review the book club books. So can you start with the book club book? Because you, Bolder, Braver, Brighter by Daniel Stewart.
Yes. And what a fun book. I was when I first started, number one, self-help books, I'm kind of leery of anyway. I kind of think, I can do this by myself. I got this. Why do I need a self-help book? And then I read this self-help book and I'm kind of like, oh, that's why I need it. It has really good advice in it, really good ideas. In this author, Coach Daniel Stewart, as I said, I went in kind of with a negative attitude. When I signed up for this, I was hoping y'all were going to send me a book on dressage because I know nothing about dressage. So I thought I'd get a free book and read and learn, something about it. But I got this Bolder, Braver, Brighter. So I didn't go in with the best attitude. And he just won me over. His writing style seems like is much like he is. It's so friendly and approachable. He does love, I'm an old English teacher, so you're just going to have to forgive me here. He does love alliteration. And you see that with his title, the Bolder, Braver, Brighter. And he talks about wondering, wishing, and worrying, and doubt and dread and defeat. And he has more. I mean, this rhythmic language just goes on. And at first I was determined to hate it. And then I just found myself just reading it in a sing-song and really enjoying it and finding that it helped me remember it. So darn him, he got in my head with all this alliteration stuff. So I really enjoyed that part of it. He said something that I thought when my attitude was bad. He says something at the very beginning of the book, and he says, if you will just, and I'm going to paraphrase here, if you will just stop comparing yourself to others, you've got this. And I was like, well, no, duh, but that's not going to help me, telling me to stop comparing myself to others. I've been doing that since I was 5. And then he turned it on me and he gave me exercises to help me stop comparing myself to others. And that's when he hooked me in. He wasn't just telling me to not be jealous, not be envious, not compare, not do this, not worry. He told me how to not do all those things.
Or I like the same thing. I learned in sort of through doing my own coaching certification is you can't tell people what not to do because that won't help them to not focus. Like you can't just say don't do this, don't do that. And the same thing with horses. But what do you do? Right. Okay. We can all agree that not, to stop comparing yourself. That's hard to do in a sport. That's, basically brings you to comparisons. But okay. But what can I do instead? And I think that was the really important part of a lot of this book is like, he will give you a point, explain why it's good, why it's not good, and then give you real life examples and even, a metaphor here and there to help you to understand what the point is and then how to implement it into your own daily riding, daily life and to inspire you with all that positivity and that's what I really like, is just like you said, he's got such a positive voice that you can't help believing, and and you just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah, well, I really hope this book is mine to keep, because I filled in all the exercises in pen, and I took notes, and I highlighted.
Yeah. It's your book. It's your book.
Because I was caught up into it against my will, with my preconceived notions about self-help books. I was swept up into it. And my last writing experience, my last competition before we just moved from Georgia to Florida. So I wanted to do a ride. There was a ride in Kentucky. And I knew once I would hit Florida, I wasn't going to drive to Kentucky to do a ride. So this was my chance. And I went there and went with some friends. And my goal was I wanted to do 2 25s in a row. And, I've done 15 and 25, but never 2 25s in a row. And our first day was great. My horse was magnificent. Second day was great. My horse was magnificent until I just absolutely could not go on. I felt like I was sick. And so I had to pull halfway through the ride. My horse was fine. I was the wimp. I was the person that, didn't finish. My friends completed. They did 2 25s. I had been beating myself up since that because I felt so badly about it. And as silly as it sounds, doing some of these exercises, failure, it was not, you're going to fail at whatever you try, according to Coach Daniel Stewart. And also, failure is not the end. Failure is the starting point. So he helped me look at this experience. And I know, what I did wrong. I ate seafood the night before, unreliable seafood. I was sick. I wasn't in the best of shape that I should have been. It's hard to ride that long in heat. I set myself up for failure, but now I know it's not the end. There are steps I can take. So next time I might do a little better. And instead of just making it 25 miles and 15 miles, I might make it 25 and 20, or maybe I'll be able to do the full 25.
Yeah.
And to not compare myself to the other people that I was riding with. And that's very hard because they're buddies, they're pals. But, he had these little exercises and it helped.
Yeah, Jennifer, I love it. And hot tip, I've also eaten seafood the night before a competition, and I don't do it anymore. I'm with you. Do not eat seafood the night before you ride. Eat something very bland.
No.
I'm a hot tip
in the middle of the woods.
And you were in Kentucky. I'm from Kentucky. We don't have fish here.
We were at Shaker.
Oh God! Oh
Shaker
no! Shakertown. It's actually
beautiful.
Gorgeous. Yeah. No, don't eat fish here.
I didn't know Kentucky was so beautiful.
Water. Yeah.
There were no bathrooms out on that trail. I'm just here to tell you.
I rode in a CDI I was in Florida when it happened, but I also have a very strict rule: no fish before or seafood before. Anyways,
it is now a strict rule. But he, the way I was looking at it has shifted in my brain. And I just want to say one more thing that this is, I think, the coolest thing that I read in here. And I've always told my children, the brain believes what it hears. You need to speak kindly to yourself because the brain believes what it hears. And I'm not good at that about myself. I think horrible things about myself. But beyond that, he said, if you are sitting up and your shoulders are back, people who are scared or nervous, we scrunch up, we make ourselves little. But if we're sitting up and our shoulders are up and back, and if we have a smile on our face, we can trick our brain into thinking we're really not that afraid. That's a good clue that I can use. That these are steps that I can take to help myself not be so down on myself. The brain believes what it hears, and I guess it also believes in the actions we're doing with our body. If we're laughing, if we're smiling, if we're sitting up, not scrunching over, if we're making eye contact, the brain doesn't understand that really we're a little afraid. I'm definitely going to try that at the next ride. I thought that was great advice.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think, and this is why Philip and I love this book, and Coach Daniel Stewart, if you haven't listened to his interview, definitely listen to him because he's amazing. But this is why we feel very strongly to have these books as part of the book club books. Phil and I we talk with Martha at Horse and Rider Books in Trafalgar Square to talk about the books we want to do. And, these books, the reason we choose them is because we feel they fill a role, and riding is mental. We both, Phil, I'm talking with Phil too, but I think we both believe in that. Right. And so that's why we chose, and we do choose some sports psychology books every year, because it is part of it. Right. And most of the time you don't usually go to a competition not ready to compete, or to go to a ride, or whatever you're doing, and to have strategies and to work on them, and just have little things, like you said, just sit up and smile. Right. That makes a big difference, right? So you're tricking your brain that this is fun. I think it's really important. And that is why we picked these books. And I'm thrilled that you were able to enjoy it. I had to laugh when you said, hey, this wasn't my headspace. I wasn't there. I didn't think I needed it.
We all need these tips and tricks. And this book includes so many of these little things that you can implement, even if you're not a competition rider. We all have goals that we're working on, or things that we want to become a quieter rider. We want to be able to do a round circle. Well, you need some mental strategies to deal with when you have success, when you have failure, when you're thinking about things in a real negative light. And I've been there, in that dark hole, like, what's the point? What's the point of this? I won't be able to do it. I'm not, whatever. Like, we need to stay out of that space and just all become believers in ourselves, and to be, and have a real positive internal voice to ourselves. Be kind to ourselves. And Daniel Stewart, he's that voice for us until we can do it ourselves.
And I think what is important about this book for everyone who listens to HRN is that it's not just for those who compete. And God bless you, those who compete and have a judge's voice coming into your head. But even those of us who are riding with our buddies out on the trails or in the ring, it is so. And even I'm about to turn 60. I'm as adult as I'm supposed to get. It's still so hard not to compare yourself. Oh, look at her leg. I wish my leg were like that. Or look where she has her hands. My hands aren't there. Should they be? And he just gave me some tools to help me stop doing that to myself, because I'm still trying to get better. I'm taking the lessons. My horse is happy. My horse is very happy. And I have fun on the horse. So I can build from there. And he pulled science into it too, learning theory into it, talking about the stages of learning and where we are and how it feels and what you can do about it. And I recognized myself on that ladder. It was really rewarding to read this book. I enjoyed it. So thank y'all so much for sending it to me and sharing it with me.
Well, again, Jennifer, we're thankful for your time and coming on. This was awesome. And I think this is why we chose this book and feel like it was really an important one. And again, if you have a chance to listen to Daniel Stewart's, he was on a couple episodes ago. He's awesome. And I think anybody that rides, this is worth your time. So Jennifer, thank you again for being an auditor of the Horse Radio Network. And we can't wait to follow you on your journey.
Oh, thank you. It was so much fun talking to you guys. Y'all have a good evening.
Keeping our horses happy and healthy is paramount to horse owners everywhere. Since our horses are often a reflection of the environment we create for them, the Stall and Stable Show covers ideas that help us create the best home we can. From innovations in barn design to business best practices and lifestyle segments, there's a new episode every 2 weeks at stallandstable.com, Horse Radio Network, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Well, tonight we are so excited. This is one of those interviews I get a little nervous because we have Sarah Lockman Tubman and her husband, Lee Tubman. They've both been on the show separately, but we have them together. And hot off the presses, Sarah just won the 3-star Grand Prix with the 71 with First Apple. So it's a great night. Sarah and Lee, welcome to the show.
Hi. Hello. Thanks for having us.
Hi there.
Oh my goodness. Well, I am a fan of you both and have been watching you all summer and your trip to Europe and just seeing you ride at Aachen. Like I had, chills when I watched the video and I'm so thrilled for you guys. So let's start at the beginning. Sarah, tell us how you and First Apple are and then a little bit about your trip, the beginning to Europe. I loved it.
Yeah, thank you. We are happy to be back. Apple and I are doing great. We had a super ride today and a personal best with a little over a 71% today. So going to Europe in general is and was a dream come true. It's been a bucket list item of mine since I was young to be able to go to Europe and represent the United States internationally. So just being able to do that was amazing. Originally, we had planned on going to southern Germany and showing in some of the Austrian shows and some of the smaller shows and kind of going under the radar and just trying to get our feet wet and figure out how to horse show in Europe. And also just give Apple and my other horse, Valia, a little bit of more time to develop and kind of grow up over the summer, for lack of a better word. But then we were named to the short list for the World Championship. So that was amazing, but slightly changed our plans. So that is one of the reasons that we were invited and got the opportunity to compete at Aachen, which honestly, I could just die today. I'm good. Doing one of my, again, a bucket list item, being able to go down center line at Aachen, it was just incredible. So the experience itself was completely life-changing. I have returned to the States super inspired, really motivated, and I honestly just now want to work to get back there again.
That was fantastic. And I know from the scores, you've been having some really great rides and just building towards whatever future that you want. I truly believe that the pair of you are a great team.
It's been a really amazing process, and our kind of quote that we have kind of to repeat is trust the process. So, a few years ago when Lee and I kind of started together, we kind of took a couple steps back and made sure to kind of go in and fill in some of the, dressage basics, our favorite, right? And sometimes, when you're going slow and kind of filling in and helping the horse understand certain things, it really feels slow. And I know we all can relate to just wanting it now, and I want it yesterday. And especially with such a super talented horse, sometimes being patient is difficult. But I say our saying that we repeat often is trust the process. So I'm so thankful for Lee and the fact that not only are we together, we might be happily married also, but our teamwork together and both of our theories and styles are really amazing together, and you can really see it in the horses. And at the end of the day, this is a very difficult sport, and it takes time, and each horse takes the time it takes, and that's been part of the learning process for me, because as you guys know, this is my first big time, big tour horse. I rode my first ever Grand Prix Freestyle on Apple just this last season, first ever in my entire career. So it's a learning process for me as well, but it's so fun, and it's definitely rewarding when you start to see the results on the scoreboard.
So Lee, I kind of have a question for you, because you were an international rider. You were have been in the arena, and now you're a judge, and now you're kind of supporting your new wife in her aspirations. What is that like?
Well, to be honest, it's something that I've always wanted. I always wanted to have a partner to do exactly what we're doing at this time. And that took a bit of a journey to kind of come to this conclusion and find somebody. So I'm actually getting to do all the things that I wanted. And I had a big goal list when I started out, when I first came from the West to Eastern Canada. And I pretty much checked off everything on the list. And then I made a new list. And part of the new list was doing different things. Traveling to Europe, that was the next thing on the list. And being able to do this with Sarah and that particular horse, it's really unique. As well, I made sure that when we were there, that there was a balance to life. And we did a lot of other normal life activities and traveling and seeing a ton of castles and, all of that type of thing. And I've discovered that having a well-balanced life, will make you better in the area that you choose to be your best in. And in this case, being athletic, riding, competitions, stuff like that. So so it was really a lot of fun for me. I will say that the Aachen show in the beginning was a bit overwhelming. And there's just so much going on there.
It is overwhelming.
So
Yeah.
if you survive the opening ceremonies, to put it that way, and then you're able to ride, and then you survive the closing ceremonies, which you have to attend, it's just a huge, it's the biggest show I've ever been to. And all of the big name people were there, in her first class. And to even get a ribbon in the first class would be a feat, for Atlas. But it was also great because both of us grew. And in our relationship, that's a constant for us. So I'd never coached anybody at that level, at that big of a competition before, and look at all the people that are around me, there at the ring. And you even saw Harry Bolt the one day he was watching. So it was growth for both her and I, and just a development of confidence. And then the two of us, talking things through together, we're at an elevated level than where we were at the beginning. So at the beginning, we were at the bottom of the pyramid and, a lot of conversation, not a lot of belief.
Well, I like that he says conversation because there were probably some real deal arguments.
Some whip throwing.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear.
Through. Yeah.
But we're past that. And we're at the top of the pyramid now. And what's really, really cool is trying to get the top end scores. What do I need to do for 8, 9, and 10? And this is something that I've always been trying to teach to a lot of people, but particularly Sarah. When you're working on something and you're trying to make it happen, and then it's happening, and then all of a sudden I interject and say, yeah, but the neck needs to be longer. And then she'd get frustrated with that because, well, no, this is how he has to go. And I said, yes, but eventually you're going to have to correct that. Well, guess what? You have to have it Aachen. Because if you don't have that, someone's going to come along and say, your horse's neck is too short. You'll need to lengthen it.
Well, I think you should explain.
So while Sarah was sort of getting run off with her chestnut stallion and trying to render him under control, I heard in the earpiece from the other end of the arena from an FEI steward, I'm sorry, dear, I understand you're having problems, but you'll need to make his neck longer. and so from this point forward, it's like, I have been validated.
So
Coach,
That's
Right.
I love it, you guys.
So now
That's
we can
amazing.
say that all the time.
yeah, exactly. So anyway, coaching at that level in that environment, or even in Kronberg at Schaffhoff, all the big players are there. And it was great to be able to go and do that and have the confidence, the three of us, me and her and the horse and the dog. And to make all that happen and to be very, very successful. So it's very fulfilling. It's very satisfying. And to think about, like I said, well, how are we going to score a 10? So I believe last year she got a couple of 10s for extended canter, but just pursuing that, with what's next and advancing things like even at this horse show, I think we're up 1% or 1.25%, and the horse is constantly in a curve of change. So you also have to adapt to that and figure out what's going to happen in each test. But bottom line, life's awesome. Couldn't be better.
Aw. Well, first of all, I loved, because again, I watched your journey and I loved how you even put that there was balance and you guys would go and do some fun things because you were an amazing part of the world. And I really respected that because it's easy to get sort of in your let's get ready for Aachen mode. And I love that you guys were able to go and spend some time together because you are newly married. But I also, that was going to be my question. I love it that that is difficult. I don't know if I could work with my husband like that. And so, I mean, I respect that because it is very difficult to do that. And to hear the story, absolutely, made me chuckle a little. But Sarah, what was it like? I mean, I think I was lucky enough to go to Aachen in 2009 and the warm up there is unbelievable. Yeah. Can you explain that to people a little bit? And what was it like to be in there? Because I don't think you see that type of warm up anywhere else in the world.
No, I mean, I think first of all, a few of my fellow colleagues had kind of warned me, about that Aachen is really in the spotlight as far as the media and social media and the public, and that they're really strict about that. And I mean, to be honest, I have a horse that I don't really have to worry about a lot of stuff with that. So I filed that away, but I didn't really think about it. Well, the first meeting that we had there it was a 45-minute to an hour riders meeting where we were, all of us, every country was just reamed and said, we do not want bad press. And there will be no road cross. And there will be no, even behind the vertical, there will be no excessive whip use or excessive spur use or overriding or long periods of warm up. And, part of that was really refreshing to hear, because I think sometimes, especially Auckland's like a mini Olympics. It is probably the Olympics to everybody that would have gone. To hear that standard is held high even there. So that was how it started. And they explained to us that around the warm-up, not only would we have our normal FEI stewards, but they also have hired, as I forgot the name of them, but something like an FEI steward that was really specifically for the public. So if someone had a question or a concern about something to do with the horse, to be honest, Apple is a crazy sweater. I mean, I can tack walk the horse for 10 minutes and it probably looks like I've been on him for an hour. So it could be something just as simple as that of somebody in the crowd concerned about the horse's well-being, or someone in the crowd concerned about, an exercise that maybe a rider's doing in order to get something done. And these stewards were to be, our buffer and help the public understand our sport and understand the horses and understand what's okay and not. So that was a little bit also different. And then, the first day, I schooled my horse in the show arena, because the show arena is like a football stadium. So it's like nothing you've ever seen before in North America. And, but I didn't bother to school the warm-up, and the warm-up looks like the normal warm-up. Right. It's a normal warm-up when no one's there. Yeah. And then on the day of competition, there were more people watching the warm-up than I have ever seen, even at a show at Global. So that was a little almost shocking to myself also. I mean, and they're peeking up above the bushes and they're almost hanging from the trees. And it's wild to see so many people there just to watch the warm up. So that's when Lee was talking about the fact I was slightly getting run away with by my stallion. Well, he did not like the heads bobbing up and down. People were almost jumping above the hedge to try to see the warm up. So, for anyone, I think, and especially for Lee and I moving forward, since this is our goal with all of our horses, including our young horses, to eventually reach this level of sport and represent the United States internationally, basically the horses just need to be really broke. Really broke, because there's a lot of stuff going on, and I will never complain at another horse show in the States ever again, because there is no, oh, I'm sorry, there's someone that made a little noise in the crowd. That's not a thing, So I think that was really amazing to see, first of all, that. And for me, the main thing is look at the sport there. That many people showed up to watch the warm up. And then even 10 times that many people showed up to watch each and every class. And I'm sure you've heard this in the past and other people have also. But if you miss a change, the crowd knows the test. The drama from the crowd.
The drama. It's drama.
Right? But you know what? It's exciting because these people, this is sport there for them. It's like a football game there for them. And I think that's so amazing. And I know the sport's old in those countries compared to here, but man, it's really invigorating to go and you ride your ride. And afterwards, the crowd goes wild. It's really a cool feeling. But for sure, the warm up was really interesting.
And you have to go out, right, Sarah? You can't, there's a certain amount of time, to 10 minutes. You can't stay there's another warm up that's private or just right in the stabling, but you have to go out to, and it's standing room there, it's 5 deep. It's unbelievable.
Yes. There was a private indoor arena if someone felt like they needed some quiet time before coming out into the public, or, I don't know, a horse was having a problem with that. But at the end of the day, your 10-minute call, you've got to be in that 10-minute arena. So it's just really important. I mean, I think it's great that we have some of these show venues coming up around the country where there's a lot more participation as far as people coming and watching and the atmosphere. But I mean, at the end of the day, now I know why everyone says you have to go to Europe. There is no other way to replicate that in the States. You really have to go to Europe to see it, for sure.
So, Lee, I was just going to ask you, as a coach, is that intimidating? Like, when I coach people, I like to, have my own space and not be close to it. And we now have the technology where we're, speaking into someone's ear, or, stuff like that. I mean, how did that affect you? And were you also trying to get some tips from the famous coaches that are there?
Well, to be honest, it was more intimidating coaching her for the very first time at Global.
Okay.
That was more difficult. And then prior to coming to that show, we'd already been at one kind of as a warm-up. And so, no, I didn't really find it that difficult because I just focused on what needed to be done. But there's a lot of people standing behind you watching. Of course, now nobody can actually hear what you say, and I often think back, for example, to Kilburn Farm or something in the late 80s, and people are yelling across the arena. And I think back, and I wonder what Cindy and Neil thought about me, what I said back then, like were you saying the right thing? Because everybody could hear. But of course, now you have headsets, so nobody can really hear. But no, I didn't really find that intimidating because I was in my zone and knew what I had to do and get it done. I'm
going to interject because, because I for sure obviously had my own set of performance anxiety a little bit leading up to that. But I cannot even count how many times Lee asked me, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And I said, "You ask me one more time if I'm okay. I know you're not okay."
Well, I do. I get nervous for her.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah, probably more nervous than if you were riding yourself.
Yeah, exactly. That would actually be easier.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think many coaches could say that, right? Like it's, and then being in that venue and seeing it, and the coach gets to see everything that's happening, and the rider's a lot more focused. So I give you guys props that you're able to do it. Like that is, I mean, my husband and I can't even walk the dog without a little fight. So
yeah.
I am impressed.
Well, I think when we went there, the trip there and getting started was a bit intimidating. And as we worked throughout the week, there were several things that happened. So after she rode the Grand Prix test, she wasn't so happy with how everything went. And, I need to like get him to piaffe better and so on. So we went and sat in the stands and we could watch like 20 really good people. And coming out of that, at one point she said, "I've got to be braver. I have to be braver. I have to be braver and tell him he has to stay." And so when we schooled them the next day, she started to do that. And at this point, the horse is supple enough and through enough that he would actually accept that. And then when he accepted that, then she became more confident. And so out of this competition of Aachen, which seemed so daunting at the beginning, I said at this point, when we leave on Monday, you will be completely different because of the experiences that you've had here. And then she had a very nice freestyle. And then when we left, there was a strong confidence in her about how she would ride him. And also with him, I think maybe more confidence in her. And then because of that, more of a willingness, which then led us to the last horse show, which was, that was a lot easier and a lot more successful. And the freestyle was a very, very good freestyle. So Aachen will not be forgotten. And when she placed sixth in the freestyle, I was over the moon. We have a ribbon from Aachen. I think I'll cast in acrylic. I mean, we have a ribbon. Okay, it's a small ribbon, but it means so much.
It means a lot. Yeah,
that's huge.
That was the part that was really exciting. So I think the thing, to sum it up, I don't think you could not replicate being able to watch, 40, 50 of not only very good Grand Prix horses, but also the top Grand Prix riders. And not just showing, but just learning from their process, to watch somebody on the first training day and watch them school that horse progressively each day, and then the finished product. And everybody has a little different style and a little different ways of getting there. But it was really inspirational to see so many different types of horses that, to be honest, I mean, I don't know, I probably wouldn't have bought half of them. Like, looking at them, it's not that they would be my type of horse, but so very cool to see these top riders produce horses, no matter how they were built or what their strengths or weaknesses were or their attitudes. And so that's the part that was really inspirational. And like Lee said, I for sure came out of that with some different ideas and different visuals. And it's nothing different than we had been saying, but it was something about being there and watching others do it the right way over and over again really, really stuck in my mind.
Yeah, I think that there's something to be said for the environment you're in, raising the bar. If we had stayed here in North America for the winter and not gone, we wouldn't have the same results. But just being able to have those people around you and see what they're doing and becoming inspired by that and motivated, that's actually quite a priceless thing.
Wow. Well, you guys are so inspirational. I just want to ask one more question, because you have had a big day and you've got to get ready and you've been so generous with your time. But what is next? I mean, today you had an amazing Grand Prix. So what's next for you guys in your life and the horses?
Well, so far in the horses, Apple, we will just keep on keeping on and trusting the process. And I am so happy that at every show we are just progressively taking those little baby steps forward. So we will continue along that. And, the freestyle, he loves the freestyle. I like the freestyle. I think it's a great way to help build his confidence, because we can set up the test in such a way that it is easier for him. So that's kind of been why we've gone the freestyle route. So luckily, this next year is a World Cup year. So it works in our favor that we can continue on with the process that we've already started and just, work our way through some of the World Cup qualifiers. We are staying in Wellington this season, through the summer into the season. So just so it was a little easier on the horses to have less travel. So luckily, we will get to do a CDI every month. And that's kind of part of our plan, is to keep some consistency in the showing. And that has been a big help with myself and the horse, kind of keep checking in and keep getting in the ring. And then another exciting, I have Belia, my younger horse, who's 10, technically 11, I think, this year, who I've had since she was a 5-year-old. She will be actually doing her first Grand Prix tomorrow. And then she's really turning into a little Grand Prix machine. She with the more higher level collected work, has really blossomed into something quite special. So soft plans for her are to do some of the Pan Am qualifiers. So, we'll just kind of continue on with our training process as is, and, put in our applications for all the fun, crazy things. And at the end of the day, just see what happens. But I think I can speak for both Lee and I. Our kind of longer term goals, we really want to be able to get to Europe again next summer, after us, hopefully have a very successful winter season in Florida, and get back to Europe with both the horses and do that again. And just kind of keep building on what we have now. I feel so fortunate to have 2 Grand Prix horses. I mean, pinch me, I never would have thought this would be happening. So I really want to take the opportunity and the learning opportunity and learn as much as I can now, because I think even my little young horses at home are feeling the learning curve. So that I think is our plans as far as that goes. And then our plans personally, I don't know, Lee is our activities coordinator. So Lee makes sure that Sarah doesn't stay in the barn 24/7. So I
love it. Sure. Good for you, Lee. I love it.
Yes. He rips me away from the barn.
Yes, I already have pre-Christmas planned.
Yes.
Our little, we always do something before Christmas. And historically, we've gone to Key West for the last 3 years. So I've changed something. So it'll be a bit of a surprise.
Oh, I love
great.
it. You guys are so cute, and you've been so generous with your time. But how can we find you online? Plug everything.
Yeah, so Lee has a website, and it's www.leetubman.com, and you can find more information about him and his coaching and setting up for clinics. He does travel for clinics all through the country and into Canada. And then my website is www.sldressage.com, and you can also look more info up about me on there. Along with some exciting sales horses that I have trickling in here and there. And I also am available to teach clinics. I only have a few weekends left available. But that's how you can find both of us.
Oh, fantastic. Well, we wish you luck this week with your Grand Prix. I'm going to be watching, and we look forward to seeing you guys in Florida.
Thank you guys so much.
It's great to talk to you again.
Well, Phil, you have a fantastic trainer tip of the week for us. Go for it, sir. I actually don't know what it is, so I'm excited about this.
Well, I was on my horses, and I knew that we needed to prepare, our own trainer tip today, and that's just how the schedule was looking like it was going to work out. So then I was thinking about my daily training and what's an important tip for somebody, but what I really think is super important, and it's hard for amateurs. So here we go. What I would call is consequential riding. So what does that mean? That means as soon as I'm on a horse and, riding, a very simple explanation for, riding is asking the horse, giving the horses cues to go, stop, turn, balance themselves, move as directed is it's only possible through consequential riding. So if I want to go, we all know that the universal cue for this is to put both legs on and give a little squeeze, and the horse should move off the leg. And then to stop, it's pretty universal, is when I don't want to go anymore, then I need to, give a little bracing of the seat, a little bracing of the reins, and the horse should stop. That's how I'm communicating with my horse. Now, the complicated part is how much the horse should go, or how much pressure I should, ask the horse in the bridle to stop. Well, that's different for everybody, but the reason that we become trainers is that we become more proficient at giving these cues, and the daily training is to ask the horse to communicate what I want from the horse and how much the horse is expected to respond to these cues. Now, for the most part, I think that most horses, especially if it's an amateur riding it, they're kind of on the lazy side of the go cue, and will probably sometimes ignore you when you give the stop cue. They get dull, just from nature, and that's what makes them so rideable, amateur friendly, is that they aren't super sharp to the aids. But my job as a coach and an instructor is to make sure that the riders are doing as little as possible, and the horses are responding as quickly and as energetically as they can, or that what's the expectation of a go response from the horse. Is that all making sense?
And you know what? It's so funny because we did not talk about this before we got on the show. And this was the last lesson I taught. So it's a new student. She came. I know the horse because the horse is ridden by his owner, but his owner also lets this young lady ride him. And that was literally her question when she walked in. And I have a little inside information because the horse is older. He's like 21, but he's done a Pre-St. George at some time in his life recently. And that was exactly her question was, I want to know, what is okay to ask and what is not okay to ask. And my first response to her was, well, it depends. But my second response was, you are also riding a trained horse, right? So I do think this is important to remember when you're talking about this, because expectations may be different if you're riding a 21-year-old horse that knows exactly what you're asking him to do versus a 3-year-old, right? Sometimes they don't know, and you have to give them their own specific aids that are clear, right? And so I think it is a scale, right? And we talked about sort of a dial of aids from 1 or 0 to 10. Obviously 0 being nothing and 10 being, too much. And we talked about dialing the aids in and what the dial should be. And a couple of times I asked her, I said, well, how does he feel now? And I said, well, where are your aids? And she's like, a 1. And I was like, well, nothing's happening. Literally nothing. So we talked about sort of that you have to dial up because you've asked him a question and he didn't respond. So I think that's really important to remember, and that is a good time to talk with your coach. Like you said, Phil, we've done this before. I actually wrote another 21-year-old this afternoon, right? So we just have more reps at it. And we also know when we can say, come on, pay attention, or maybe they're not clear with their aids. But I think that also goes to clarity as well, right? If you're not getting a response, you also need to make sure that whatever aid you're giving is a clear aid, which I think is also important.
I mean, absolutely.
So I think there's a lot.
And there's lots of tools that we can help the horse to understand what we want, or just to reinforce our aids. There's it's whips and sometimes a little spur. Consult with a professional to decide, well, I think I should carry a whip, or I think I should try a little spur. But I see so often in lessons is like the riders are working so hard, and they're at about half an hour, and they're huffing and puffing, and the horse is not even done anything.
Hasn't broken a sweat. Yeah.
No, we're still in walk. So again, you if you're going to improve the horse, and dressage is about balancing and working hard and all of that, the horse has to do some involve some kind of effort, and the person responsible for that relationship is the rider. And again, like if you are walking and you'd like to trot, and you give an aid and nothing happens, then you have to give the aid again.
Yes.
And and maybe include a tap of the whip, or whatever it is. And that's how the horses get trained to understand us, with a reinforcement of the good behavior and a repetition of the aid if the behavior is not acceptable.
Correct.
So, the riders have to kind of dial in their own level of expectations, and then be able to achieve that expectation. Exactly. And that's I guess that's in essence, training a horse, right?
Exactly. And training him to those aids, right?
Yeah.
And expecting that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Raising your level of expectation. So I was thinking about this today because I'm kind of done my season. I still have a couple of students that are going to go to more shows. That's great, but I'm a little bit over showing, or just done competing. I love to train, so that's what's going through my mind, right? Giving the horses a break, walking around a lot, kind of some hacking, and then what are my goals for this winter? How am I going to achieve that? And in my mind, all the horses I rode at the Prix St. George this year are ready to be introduced to the Intermediate 1. That's the next level of progression. Well, every time you want to step it up, the horses have to make a little bit more effort, and they have to be more in tune to the rider, a little bit sharper on the aids, or what I said, like they've got to be able to give the next level of effort when I ask for whatever it is, a medium trot, for instance, or so. That's in my mind and in planning to say, how am I going to be able to achieve the I1 test? Well, the horses need, I know this from experience from, training horses and riding them through the levels, that this is just how it happens, right? If you want to go to the next level, the horse has to be the next level of fitness. And, and that next level of responsiveness, like what was good in, as we're preparing for this season, what was good in April or May is not good enough anymore, right? So then, we gotta dial it up a little bit and make the horses fitter and introduce them to the new movements and all of that stuff is what I'm kind of thinking about. How am I gonna make my goals happen?
Right. No, I think it's exactly right, and it's very, very common, and it is like one of the biggest comments that you get when you first meet a person about riding their horse. So I think you're right on, and I think it's a great tip. Like you said, you're coming to the end of the season, looking at next season, but right now I'm looking at I got to get my test better for the national championships, and it comes down to that as well. When I put my leg on, I need a response, and it's the same concept. So I think it's a great tip. So great job, Phil. Thanks for that tip this week. And we hope you guys have a great riding week. Well, as always, we love email and Facebook shout outs. Keep them coming. Love seeing everybody again at the regional championships. You guys made my day. Thank you so much. And keep coming up. Phil and I love it. And as always, you can find our show notes and links to today's guests on our website, dressageradio.com. Like us on Facebook, just search Dressage Radio Show. Follow us on Twitter at Horse Radio. My website is maplecrestfarmky.com, and my email is reese@horseradionetwork.com.
I think the best way to find me is probably through Facebook, or my email is philip@horseradionetwork.com. I'd like to thank our sponsors for allowing us to put on a good show. That's Kentucky Performance Products. And if you'd like to support our show and the Horse Radio Network, you can do that through the Auditor program found at horseradionetwork.com.
Everybody, keep your heels down and your shoulders back, and we will talk to you next week.